Was I born to be a hostage negotiator? I don't know. Was I born to create business bourbon? Maybe.
Good. Cheers. Cheers. Good to be together.
I love drinking bourbon. It's a great celebratory drink. It's kind of a business drink. So the opportunity to create a business bourbon specifically, it just seems to fit naturally.
I really got to know Chris when I was working on his documentary, Tactical Empathy. It covers the story of how he went from the police force to the FBI and ultimately became the lead hostage negotiator for the FBI. He went on to write the book, Never Split the Difference. Now he runs an incredible business where he teaches people how to master the art of negotiation in their business and their life.
All right, so first question to pose to you guys. What's the difference between negotiating and bargaining? The name of the book is Never Split the Difference, because splitting the difference is guaranteed lose-lose. You believe in great collaboration. Find the right balance between things, and you just don't find it by splitting the difference.
I saw that he liked drinking bourbon, and I said, you know, what if we created a bourbon called The Difference? There's never been a spirit to celebrate business deals, it's all been for partying. And he sort of laughed and said, yeah, that'd be cool.
The name of the bourbon, The Difference, it struck me as a great idea. It just seems to fit naturally for a business bourbon. So I didn't know what the ride was going to be like.
So I ended up making a few phone calls, and I was introduced to a guy named Roy Milner, and he sent me some information on this distillery called Bardstown. I then went back to Chris and said, you want to go to Kentucky? He's like, yeah, I do.
We're at Bardstown Bourbon Company here in Bardstown, Kentucky. They own 2 distilleries that we will have access to for our bourbon. And we're here today crafting the first blend.
Bardstown's bourbon capital of the world. We're about 45 miles south of the Louisville airport. We're in the heart of America, in the heart of Kentucky cornfields with the limestone that everybody talks about, the way it impacts the water, the plentiful corn. People had to figure out what to do with that extra grain and started making whiskey. It's been something that's been a core to the community, and the industry was built here, and it is literally the place you want to be if you want to make bourbon.
Chris and Roy's background are a big part of what makes The Difference stand out in a really crowded marketplace. This isn't just another celebrity-backed spirit. The consumer-facing spirits business is just tough. Like every private equity, every celebrity has one. But what we could do is we could create something different and build something that's really authentic to who Chris is.
I started out my law enforcement career with Kansas City, Missouri Police Department. It was close to where I grew up. Then I got interested in federal law enforcement, joined the FBI, ended up on the SWAT team, FBI Pittsburgh, my first office. And then ended up getting transferred to New York City, where I was on a terrorist task force, and my path there led me onto the hostage negotiation team.
Chris thinks of negotiation as collaboration. Chris thinks of it as shared experience. He says if somebody didn't win, it's not a good negotiation. Everybody has to win. And you have to do it by not splitting the difference.
Imagine if you're a hostage and the bad guys have 4 of you and they're asking for a plane to the Bahamas, and you hear the negotiator on the other end say, you know, why don't we just split the difference? You know, you take 2, we'll keep 2. I mean, that's got to be horrifying. It's just a ridiculous idea. And splitting the difference is also ridiculous in business and personal life.
No one has ever created a spirit that you're supposed to enjoy while you make a deal or to celebrate a deal. We're now on our way. We're here at Bardstown. We're making a bourbon brand. It's sort of mind-blowing to actually be here, tasting, blending. I don't know that much about bourbon either. And the best part about it, this is an approachable brand. I'm going to learn. You're going to learn along with me. We're going to learn together as a community. And every person who drinks our bourbon is going to know the story of each bottle directly from the distillers and the blenders and from Roy, who's going to be our guide through this journey.
73 corn, 19 rye, 8 barley.
Exactly.
We brought Roy Milner along with us because he's a master of building brands. He brings decades of experience in the beverage industry.
So right out of college, I was homebrewing in the early 90s. I started a brand with a friend called Eastern Rivers Brewing Company in 1996. We pivoted off of that, went to work for Boston Beer Company, which is Sam Adams. And then in 2010, I started a brewery with Black Gray Farm, and we built that brewery into one of the top 100 breweries in the world. And during that process, I also got to work with our spirits team. Here in Kentucky, I got to know so many of the families in the bourbon business through Black Gray Farm. So in 2019, I worked on a brand with Jim Rutledge. Jim Rutledge was the iconic master distiller at Four Roses. That project was going to give money back to the decimated coal towns in East Kentucky. Pandemic happened, that brand did not come to fruition. But the barrels that we have now for the Difference are some of those barrels that Jim Rutledge made.
When Roy mentioned there's like a possibility we could get them, that was my only goal. And Roy said, Nick, those barrels are very special. I said, I know, that's why I want them. And so we worked it out, and we have under contract, we signed the deal literally yesterday. Those last 200 barrels, they're stored right here. It was all meant to be.
These barrels are perfect. They've been aging, they're rare to begin with, and the timing of the universe is lined up for us perfectly to use these barrels to launch the first batch of the Difference.
I think it's important to truly understand what makes those barrels different. There are millions of barrels in the state of Kentucky that get made here, but there were only a handful of barrels made for this particular project in 2019. Most of those barrels got blended into other brands. We can't recreate those. Even if we made the same mash bill, put them in the same rickhouse in the same place, it's a different time, it's a different era, it's a different year. So just like wine, every vintage is different, every year's different, the weather's different, so humidities are different. So those 200 barrels are extremely special. Once they're gone forever.
And all 200 of those last barrels in the world happen to live right here at Bardstown Bourbon, which is really just the icing on the cake.
So Bardstown Bourbon Company started with the whole concept of making whiskey for others while we take the time to grow our own brands. We love sharing our distillery. We love folks calling this distillery their home. And we can help folks through that full cycle of making your whiskey, storing it for you, the whole bottling process. That custom business is the core of what we do. And I think we're in a unique position to do it because we're learning as we go. We learn from those big brands we make whiskey from. We learn from our own brand growth, and we can help folks think through the whole process because we decided to go with complete transparency. We honor tradition in everything we do, but we push for innovation as well. And it's unique in our industry. And you better find something unique or you're just going to be another bourbon on the shelf.
A lot of brands want to say they're different, but when you look at the playbook, it's the same thing that's always been told. It's a lot of dark wood, leather, old heritage, stories about family history. We want to talk about what's next. The Difference is truly a different approach to the industry. It's not consumer facing.
When those 200 barrels are gone, that doesn't mean we're out of business. With the relationships Roy and others we're working with have, we can go out and get stuff that only private collectors would ever see.
We want to seek out barrels that are unique and could be individualistic, where maybe only 100 bottles get produced and we bring 100 people together. Everybody gets a bottle, everyone gets to taste that barrel. It's about a moment in time. It's about sharing something special with a group of people in the moment.
The purpose of The Difference is to create great community, to create great relationships, to celebrate collaboration with people that you have a tremendous amount of regard for.
We want to bring people together. We're community builders. We want our bottles to be super special, and they will be. But they're not to be hoarded, they're to be shared.
All three of us believe that bourbon is meant to be enjoyed. You may not have the bottle full anymore, but the experiences you got out of that bottle, those are the stories you can tell for the rest of your life. So drink it. It is made to be shared. Never split, always share.
Never split,
Always share.